Welcome, I'm Dr. Melina Roberts, and I want to talk about something called acid reflux, also called GERD, which is gastroesophageal reflux disease, or heartburn, which is really that burning sensation that people will experience typically after eating, right in that mid-chest there. And a lot of people think that we experience this because we're producing too much acid. And in a lot of cases, it's actually because we're actually not producing enough acid. So I want to explain that more so you get a better understanding of how this actually works. So we have an esophagus, which is where the food goes down, and your stomach. And between the esophagus and the stomach, there's a sphincter. And that sphincter opens and closes. So it opens when food is coming in to allow the food into the stomach, and then it closes to contain that food so that it doesn't go back up the esophagus. Now that sphincter works from a direct feedback from having sufficient acid in the stomach. Now, if there is sufficient acid in the stomach, then that sphincter is really strong and it won't allow contents from the stomach to move back up the esophagus. But if there's not enough acid in the stomach, then that sphincter is actually weakened, and then it does allow contents to go up. So it's actually because in a lot of cases, it's because we're not producing enough acid in the stomach, and that's why you're experiencing that acid reflux, that heartburn, that GERD sensation in the esophagus. Now, why this happens is that we live in a really high stress world where we tend to eat in a stressful state. And when we're eating in this stressful state, our bodies are more in this sympathetic dominant state. And the sympathetic dominant state is that state where your nervous system is more in that fight or flight state. It's when it's trying to actually run away from that tiger. And when your body is in that more sympathetic state, its priority is not to digest your food. Its priority is to try to get you away from that danger. So when we're in that sympathetic dominant state and we're eating our food, we actually don't produce enough acid. And this is typically when you're going to experience that acid reflux. So here are 5 tips that we can be doing to decrease our chances of getting acid reflux and also really be treating the underlying cause of acid reflux. And really the main thing is that we want to try to shift our body from that sympathetic dominant state while we're eating to a more parasympathetic dominant state while we're eating. So that parasympathetic dominant state is when our body is wanting to rest, digest, and repair. And so when we shift to that, then we allow our body to be able to properly digest our foods. Now, one of the things we could be doing is not eating in a stressful environment, not eating on the go, making sure that we make the time to actually sit down and eat in a more relaxed environment. So that is number 2, is that we want to make sure we take the time to sit down and relax and eat. And number 3 is also shifting your body into that parasympathetic state, is actually taking the time to chew our foods and to take that time to focus on eating our food. We also call that mindful eating. But when we're in that mindful state of eating, of relaxing, of enjoying our foods, we actually shift our body into that parasympathetic state, which helps our body to actually naturally produce the acids it needs in order to break down the foods we're eating. Now, the 4th thing we can be doing as well is we can have a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar before our meals. And what that does is it really just primes our digestion. So it allows our digestion to start producing the mucus in order to get our foods to slide down that esophagus. We start to produce enzymes, and we start to produce the acid in our stomachs. So then our body is starting to get ready to be able to break down the foods we're eating. So that's what the apple cider vinegar is really effective at doing. And the fifth thing that we may need to do if we're not able to really help our bodies to break down the foods on their own is we may need to actually take hydrochloric acid and digestive enzymes to really help our bodies to have that acid to break down the foods and have those digestive enzymes to help our bodies to break down the foods that we're eating as well. So these are 5 tips to help prevent and treat acid reflux. So thank you so much for listening. I hope this all makes sense to you, and I hope what you'll do is you'll share this with your friends, you will press the like button, make a comment below, and until next time, continue to learn, grow, and build health.